Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked, locked, blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Dr. Shealy, I was thinking, what's happening in the world of Dr. Shealy? What's new with you?
Well, I guess the newest thing of all is the question of when will the official Civil War begin?
Oh, well, okay. The unofficial one has already started, and the unofficial revolution in my world has started. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about more shooting, more burning, more looting, more mayhem, more cars unlimited. Plowing into people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just think it's going to continue to ramp up. But as it ramps up, my vision, not my desire, but my vision of how it will play out is that it will increase at an increasing rate. You know, it just won't bump along. It'll increase at an increasing rate because people have just lost their minds. They've had it. Are you seeing that as well? That people are they've had it. They've had it with everything.
Oh, yes. I think people are either totally disgusted or resigned.
I agree with that. And that's, you know, I was talking with Mrs. Finelli about this last night, and I said, what do you think it is? What do you think it is that's causing people to have these coronavirus or COVID-19 parties? And literally what people are doing is they're having a get-together with a whole bunch of people, and they make sure that someone is infected, and they bring that person in. Everybody knows that there's someone at this party who's infected. And they just want to see what happens. That's like dumb. And I said, so why do you think they do things like this? And she said they can't take it. They live in apartments. They've been told that they can come out. No, they can't come out. Yes, they can. No, they can't. No, you have to stay in. And they've been in for weeks and they're going stark raving mad. They've played all the video games that they can play. They've watched all the reruns that they can watch. They're confined. They can't get the food that they'd like. They can't get out and they just want to go out. They just can't stand being cooped up anymore. So they go out. They go to the beach. They go to the parks, and they just want to get out. They can't take it. That's what her opinion is, and I think there's a lot of value to what she said. I think that's true. What are your thoughts, Dr. Shealy?
They need to get a life. You know, they need to learn to read.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, I got yes. Go ahead. Please continue.
Well, they need to learn how to take care of themselves without artificial amusement.
Right. I got an email from Kathy in Ohio. She sent it to me yesterday. And she said that, let's see. Let me find the email that I got from her. It's quite interesting what she said. Okay. It said, Vincent, I bought some canning jars last night from my neighbor for $12. 9 dozen canning jars for $12. They just wanted to get rid of them. They're the older, heavier jars. And I'm questioning, or I'm guessing they come from the 60s and the 70s. What a great find for me. I wish you were closer and I could give you some. I don't think I'll use all of these, Kathy. That's what she said to me. And my response was, what you said, Dr. Shealy. I said, Kathy, you're so thoughtful. I find it interesting what people find in their way and they can't wait to get rid of. Out in Missouri, it seems to be books. So very few find time to read. I bought a leather-bound unused Encyclopedia Britannica set for $1 per volume, about 75 pounds in mint condition for about $30. Currently, they're selling for $450 on eBay plus $25 shipping. So why would somebody get rid of a set of encyclopedia? Why would somebody get rid of canning jars? I mean, how much do we really have that little room that we can't keep those things? I think they're both valuable. And you mentioned reading, get a life and reading. Dr. Shealy, around my neck of the woods here, for 15 years I've been asking people, so, what do you like to read? Or do you, I don't read. People don't read here. They don't read here. And if they have a magazine, if they read it, they would want to get rid of it right away. And I don't understand that. I've got magazines from the 1960s. I still have them because the information hasn't changed. To me, well, magazines used to have fewer ads. Now they're 50% or more advertisements, so it's not so desirable to keep them. But the articles, the information hasn't changed. It's still the same information it was in the 60s. So why get rid of all these things? I don't get it. Why not reread them? That's what I do. I read a lot, and I know you do too. And it's enjoyable. And it's not a waste of time.
I mean, to me, my two favorite avocations are gardening and reading.
And that was something that I wanted to ask you about. Gardening. And gardening and canning and food storage. And I'm not just talking about stacking cans and jars and boxes. I'm talking about actually canning, dehydrating, those kinds of things. I was wondering, Dr. Shealy, if through your experiences you have found some common thread with people who can and garden and raise their own food. Is it genetic? Is it ethnicity? Is it parents and grandparents who passed the stories on from the first Great Depression? What do you think it might be?
Heaven only knows.
Mm-hmm. But there are some people just do it. Like Kathy does it. Kathy in Ohio. She loves to garden. She's a farmer. You do it. You're a farmer. I'm a farmer. Joey does it. There are a whole bunch of us that we look forward to it. We look forward to having the right number of cans and jars and lids and bands and all the ingredients to preserve our food. It's something kind of like nesting. Something that, I don't know, I can't shake it. I mean, I don't think I can shake it. And I said to Mrs. Finelli, we were out in the garden yesterday, we were weeding, and it was blazing hot. Blazing hot. The ground is, got to be watered 3 times a day or we don't have one of those soaker hoses. But I mentioned her, I said, this is a lot of work for $5 worth of tomatoes. And that's the truth, right? There's no, unless you have for free all the equipment you need, that it's cheaper to just go buy the food than it is to can it. It's, a canning jar is about $1. A jar of spaghetti sauce is about $1. So you can get the jar with the sauce in it for about the same price as the empty jar. So it's not like you're saving a lot of money. But you do control what you eat. That's the big value.
We're talking about quality.
Yes. Quality. Now, I was thinking as we were chatting in the garden yesterday that I've had those on the vine tomatoes that come in a package from the store in the good old days when we'd go shopping at the supermarket, and they were these maybe 6 tomatoes in a glassine type package, a cellophane or plastic bag, and they look like tomatoes from the outside. I mean, they're perfect. They're all same size, same shape, no dings, no dents, no bug holes, no bruises. They're perfect. But when you cut them open, they don't have any flavor. So I'm wondering if they're hydroponic tomatoes. And there certainly is a difference to me, soil versus hydroponic. Your comments?
Well, I can't remember buying a tomato in the store. I don't. Well, since I finished my training in neurosurgery in 1963, I've always had my own tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And did your family grow a garden and raise their own food? Is that?
Yes, I took it over when I was age 12.
Mm-hmm.
That's when my interest in gardening began. I wanted to do it, and we had a huge family garden on a farm.
And that's about the age that I got started. My mom and I, my dad was at work, and my mom and I would go out and I learned about carrots and radishes and had some instant success. You plant the seeds, you water them, and then the leaves appear, and then pretty soon you can pull those radishes and carrots out, and they actually grow. And that was a great instant success. So, class, if you're thinking about starting a garden, I suggest that you use some carrot seeds and some radish seeds, and make sure you take care of them. Keep the garden close to the house, because if it's out away from the house in the corner of the property, it's too far to reach, too far for the hose to get to, too much of a pain. It won't be too successful. So you want to keep it close to the house, and that way you can tend it, weed it, and watch it grow, and make sure you water it and so forth. So I was really wondering if there were some certain traits or certain causes that would make us feel the need to garden. Some people have no interest in gardening. It's just, food comes from the store, so they're not concerned. And I was just wondering if you thought that maybe there was some common thread that runs through us. I know a lot of Italians have gardens, and a lot of Italians, if they can't have gardens, they will go to the farmer's market and buy a crate of tomatoes and then make their own sauce anyway. If they live in the city. And I was just wondering if there's some common threads through the Depression, the first Great Depression, and people saying, what is terrible. We were starving. There was nothing. You couldn't buy food. There's not much available. And so we did what we had to do. We grew a garden. I was just wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
I was born in the height of the Depression in 1932.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And my grandparents and my great-grandparents all had gardens, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't take over the family garden until I was 12, but we had it all that time I was growing up. I don't remember not having a garden.
Right. I went on eBay, and I bought some brass garden hose nozzles. And, if you go on eBay, you can buy all the plastic ones you want from China. And I didn't want one. So I was looking for, yeah. So I was looking for the old ones from the 1950s and 1960s. I had to buy a bunch of them. I ended up buying about 30 of them. 30 brass nozzles. Names like Craftsman, Nelson, and other brands. And they are magnificent. What a difference between those days and the modern Chi-Com ones. We'll be right back with Dr. Norm Shealy. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. And so, Dr. Shealy, what happened was I wanted to get a replacement for some of the nozzles that we have. We have a whole bunch of hoses here at the farm. And so instead of bringing a nozzle from hose to hose to hose, nozzles from the 1950s and 60s, I decided to have one for every hose. So I went to eBay, and there were a whole bunch of lots of these brass vintage garden hose nozzles. Like 8, 10 of them in a lot. And so the starting bid was $10. So I bid $10 on 10 of them. And I thought, there's a better set. So I bid the $10 on the next set. And there was another set that I liked even better than that. I thought, I'm never going to get these for $10, but I'll just do it anyway. See what happens.
You wound up with 3 sets.
Yeah, I did. And I wound up with 3 sets. And so for $30, I bought 30 garden hose nozzles and $15 shipping. So that's $1.50 a piece, which is incredible, right? I mean, that's they were more than expensive than that when they were new 40, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago. So I'm delighted with that, and I've been putting him on these hoses, and one of the things that I want to make sure is if there's a fire here that we've got a hose at the ready, at the hydrant, all over with nozzles to, we can all get on these hoses and put the fire out, if we have to. Or if we need a bulldozer, we'll do that, or a backhoe, whatever it is. So I want to make sure that we're protected, because Dr. Shealy, I don't think there's anybody to call anymore. You call the police and they tell you, well, we wouldn't call the police, but I'm reading reports that in certain locations like St. Louis, where that lawyer and his lawyer wife were out there with he was with an AR-15 and she had her handgun, and they were standing, and there's an angry shouting mob right outside their mansion, and so they called the police, and the police said to them, "We're not coming." Yeah, that's what happened. The police said they weren't coming. So we don't think that, there's going to be much interest in coming out here. So we have to take care of everything ourselves, including garden hose nozzles. And that's what this is all about. Any comments about that story about St. Louis, Dr. Shealy, that middle-aged couple that
well, it just reminds me of why I would not want to live in a city, even as small as Pleasant Hope.
Yeah. Well, Pleasant Hope. How would you describe the town of Pleasant Hope? There's an intersection, right?
Yeah, it's 614 population. Nice little town, but I wouldn't like to live in a town.
Yeah, that's 6 times larger than our town.
Which is also a mile or two away.
Yeah. So class, we've been talking about getting out of Dodge for years and years and years. Dr. Shealy and I have, and we've been saying how the air is better, the water's better, everything's better, the taxes are lower, freedom from, as many stupid people. And it's a great way to go. But there's no entertainment. If you want to be entertained, you're out of luck. I mean, you're really out of luck, because your neighbors are busy doing what they do, and there's plenty to do. And frankly, we can't get everything done that we want to do. And that was one of the questions I had for you, Dr. Shealy. You'd mentioned the man who takes care of your farm. How rare, without mentioning his name, how rare of an individual is it that you can find someone that has the skills to do all the things that are necessary to manage a farm? How is that rare?
Exquisitely rare. This wonderful guy has been with us for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. And so, what kind of general skills does he have? Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, animal husbandry.
Carpentry.
What kind of skills would you say he had?
Carpentry, fencing, all kinds of tractor work, anything you can do with a tractor, from raising, making hay to plowing to hauling logs or whatever. He is a general jack of all trades.
Which I believe is really, really rare today, a jack of all trades. Someone who can get out there with the tractor, and then when the tractor gets stuck, get the tractor unstuck, and if the tractor breaks, fix the tractor, and then figure out what he needs when he's using the tractor and maintaining all that equipment. It is a wide expanse of knowledge required to be a farmer. Dr. Shealy, and I'll be right back. Class, Dr. Shealy's with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com, Norm as in Norman, Shealy.com. Dr. Shealy's a medical doctor. Dr. Shealy, concussions. What is a concussion?
Well, it is officially a blow of some kind to the head in which you get enough damage to know something has happened. In other words,
okay,
you may pass out, you may be stunned, you may lose speech, you may even wind up with one side paralyzed. In other words, it's a hard enough blow that the entire brain is affected. Sorry?
The entire brain is affected?
Oh, yeah.
Did you say the entire brain is?
Damage maybe to one local area, but the whole brain has had a shock.
Okay. So it is the bucket that the brain is in gets banged, and the brain in fluid hits the side of the bucket. Is that what happens?
Exactly.
Okay. So the reason I've asked this question, Dr. Shealy, I was talking with a young lady who was interested in having a ceiling fan replaced in her bedroom. And she wanted to go from a smaller one that's been working just fine to a larger one. And so I was explaining to her that I have never seen a properly installed ceiling fan yet. There's always something that is wrong. Either the ceiling fan wobbles, that means it's out of balance. And it's real easy to balance them. When you buy a ceiling fan, you get these sheets of lead weights that have adhesive to them on them, and you put them in the right spot, and the ceiling fan doesn't wobble anymore. And it also comes with a test weight, which is kind of like a clothespin, plastic clothespin, the same weight as the lead weight, and you clip it onto the leading edge of the fan, and you try it in different locations until the fan stops wobbling. But most people don't read the directions, and they don't do that, so their fans wobble. And when the fans wobble, there's always this torque on the electrical box every time the fan starts up, and while it continues to wobble. That's one thing. The other thing is that the fans are typically only mounted with two screws, the two screws that are designed to hold up a 2 or 3 pound permanent flush-mounted ceiling light, like in a bedroom. Typically, the boxes weren't installed for hanging a much heavier, mechanically vibrating, mechanical movement, torque-induced fan. So every time you turn the fan on, there's more torque, and there's, a tendency to just break it a little bit more, break the box a little bit more. And the boxes were never designed, these plastic boxes were never designed to support the weight of a ceiling fan. And the screws that hold the ceiling fan up would be about the diameter of a number 2 pencil lead. So when you think about all that, there's a great potential for a concussion. I'm really serious about this. So I was explaining this to her at length, and I made sure she saw pictures of this on the internet. Class, if you want to see what I'm talking about, just go to your favorite search engine, maybe it's DuckDuckGo, and type in ceiling fan fell. And you will see a whole bunch of images of ceiling fans. You'll see some in bathtubs where they fell into the bathtub. And I've known people who have been to motels, and they said, yeah, ceiling fan fell. We weren't under it, but it fell. It's a dangerous darn thing, Dr. Shealy, if they're not installed properly. And pretty much all of them of late come from China. So many of them are substandard to begin with, and then they're installed improperly. What do you do if one of these things lands on your head, assuming you survive? What would you recommend we do if we got one of those big bumps on the head and got knocked out?
This is where acute medicine is good. I would go to an emergency room or be sent to an emergency room. I think it's important to be checked out to find out what kind of damage has been done neurologically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, in the immediate term, the family hears a crash, boom, and they find, their son, their daughter, their father, their mother, grandmother, grandfather on the floor next to the ceiling fan, alive. What, do you move the person? Do you not move the person? Do you try to wake the person up? What do you do?
Well, the first thing you check is whether they're breathing. And if they're breathing, fine. Okay. If not, you might use artificial respiration, of course. So you can get somebody to call the ambulance. But this is, it depends on just how bad the injury is.
Okay. And let's say the person can sit up, and get the person to sit up, and they seem to be relatively okay, except for the bang on their head, and they seem to, they're conscious. What would you recommend?
I can imagine there would be at least a big bruise with something of that weight hitting the head. And so I still would try to get them to a hospital, because you want to take an X-ray to find out whether there's a fracture of the skull. is the great advantage of conventional medicine. It is primed to take care of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, class, without going into a great detail, maybe later on this week I'll teach you about how to hang a ceiling fan. But I literally have not seen one that didn't wobble and that was hung properly. And
I can show you one in our living room that Joe put in.
And I'm not so. And what happened?
It's great.
It doesn't wobble.
25 years. It's been working fine for 25 years. I had it on yesterday.
And there are probably a couple reasons for that, Dr. Shealy, and I'll tell you why. When was your house built? About what
the
year?
House was
or
built
about
in
how many years old is it?
1937. But the room was remodeled in the early 90s.
Okay. Well, that's why yours is right, because you mentioned Joe as a jack of all trades. So he knows about balance. He knows about machinery. He knows about mechanics, auto mechanics, truck mechanics, farm mechanics. So he knows about those things. So I'm sure he installed it correctly. And I'm sure that if your house was built then, I'm pretty darn sure you have metal boxes that are in the ceiling for the light fixtures. And they were secured properly, because back then the craftsmanship was better than it is now. Now if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or any of those box stores and you look in the electrical department, you'll see most of the electrical boxes are made out of plastic. They're either blue or gray plastic. And they are nowhere near as strong as the metal box in terms of supporting something like a ceiling fan. As a matter of fact, a metal box a standard metal box might cost about $1 or $2. A box designed to hold a ceiling fan is $10, because it's way, way more substantial, structurally different, and it's designed to hold up the weight of that ceiling fan. So if Joe did that, and I've never met Joe, but I've been to your farm, and it's meticulously maintained. It is magnificent. I'm certain that he did it properly, and I'm certain that he didn't say, well, you know what, this is good enough. I'm sure he took the time, because that's what your farm looks like. It looks like everything was done with intent, with reason, and correctly. So I haven't really seen yours, but your fan, but every other one I've seen wobbles. Every one. And class, you can be the judge of that. You can look at the ones that you've seen, and if you want to call me and tell me, I'd love to hear it. It doesn't have to be today. It can be any day. So that was my question about concussions. Dr. Shealy, as you see people lately, is there some common thread that you see with their lifestyle? Maybe things that they're doing right, maybe things that you wish they had done differently. Are there some common threads there?
Well, I would say a majority of the people have already explored conventional medicine, and they have failed to get well. We don't see too many people who come here before they have exhausted conventional drugs. But I would still say that well over 30% are significantly overweight. And that's just the beginning of habits that are unhealthy.
30%. Okay. I've read numbers like that. Actually, those numbers are probably a little bit better than the national average, right?
Oh, yeah.
People are more than 30% are overweight. Okay. So why are they overweight?
Well, they don't exercise and they eat the average American slop. I mean, remember, Vince, 80% of the food available to buy in this country is junk. Junk.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Everything sold on the center aisles in your grocery store is junk. Everything sold in a fast food restaurant is junk.
I brought in a package, an empty package of a snack that has ingredients. The list is unbelievable. hard to read it, but for example, I thought this might be worth discussing. So these are Doritos, an empty bag of a little package of Doritos that I obtained for this broadcast. Corn, number 1 ingredient. Vegetable oil, number 2 ingredient. Vegetable oil is the number 2 ingredient. And monosodium glutamate. Artificial color. Yellow, blue. So the main ingredient is corn. The second ingredient is vegetable oil. And then colors. And then something to make it taste good, like monosodium glutamate. What are your thoughts about having that as a healthy snack, Dr. Shealy?
Well, at the top of my list of poison in food is monosodium glutamate. It is damaging to your brain.
And
it is addicting, and I would not let it in my mouth.
Okay, so the reason that these food manufacturers use monosodium glutamate in Doritos would be what? To make it addictive?
Yes.
To make sure you can't just eat just one?
Well, I mean, apparently,
and just like
I don't
Chinese
know because
food.
I don't use it. It supposedly improves the taste. It somehow is attracted to your taste buds, but the most important thing is addicting.
There was a story about a guy who owned a Chinese restaurant, and he was in a discussion, and the other person said, "You must really love monosodium glutamate." He said, "No, I don't, but my customers do," and that's the truth. And the reason it's the truth is because if you've ever tried to make Chinese cooking at home, it doesn't taste nothing like what you get at the restaurant. It doesn't taste anything like that. The restaurant tastes so much better because of monosodium glutamate. Dr. Shealy, and I'll be right back. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, I just looked up the number of people in the United States. Well, let's see. The number of obese people in the world is 761 million people are obese in the world. 761 million. And I looked up the number of money spent on obesity-related disease in the U.S. today, just today. $239 million today spent on obesity-related diseases. And then I looked up the number of money spent on weight loss programs in the United States today, just today. Not yesterday, not last week, not this month, not this year, just today. $78 million spent on weight loss programs today. This is a huge problem, Dr. Shealy. What do we do about it?
Well, first, second, and third, you don't eat potatoes, white rice of any kind whatsoever, sugar, or wheat. That's where you start. And that means you don't go to a Chinese restaurant because all of them use white rice, plus monosodium glutamate. Mm-hmm. And you don't buy anything off the center aisles in the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not willing to do that, you might as well enjoy dying fat.
Okay. So when you say the center aisles, you're talking about around in the back, it's usually the meats. Around the right side, it's usually, if I'm going by memory, I haven't been in quite a while. On the right side, and when you walk in, it's usually the produce. And on the left side, around the perimeter, would be sometimes dairy, cheeses and milks and eggs and things like that. So everything else is suspect. Is that right?
Everything else is junk.
Mm-hmm. So you can save a lot of time, class, 'cause you just go around the perimeter and get out of there. And if you look, if I've been to the Chinese factory outlet in the good old days, and if you just look down the soda aisle, the colors you see will boggle the mind. These are colors that are not available in nature. You'll see reds in sodas and blues in sodas and greens and pinks and all kinds of colors that Nature doesn't make those. Those are, those are man-made colors. And, I remember seeing this young, child sitting in the child seat on a cart at the Chinese factory outlet. And his mom, I don't know who it was, some woman that was with this young child, gave him this thing. It's kind of like a pacifier, except it had sugar on it and blue dye. And when he took it out, his whole mouth was blue. I mean, blue, like navy blue. It was unbelievable. His mom probably thought that was fun. And,
I would call that child abuse.
Yes, child abuse. Great term for that. Why is it that, really, Mom, you didn't think about that? You let children make those decisions as to what they're going to eat? Children don't know what's going on. That's why they call them children. They're young, they're inexperienced. They really don't know. So that's what adults are for. Adults are for, making those important decisions about food choices and keeping children from playing in traffic. That's what adults are supposed to do. Dr. Shealy, milk allergies. What is a milk allergy? What causes it? What are the results of it?
Theoretically, it's primarily usually to the protein, casein, but it could be possibly some other contaminant or some other component of the milk. But allergy is allergy. It means your immune system says something's wrong, and it starts an inflammatory response that can cause either burping or diarrhea or nausea or irritation of one kind or another, or even rashes.
Okay, so is this something new? Were there milk allergies in the 1950s, 1960s?
Well, I think they were exquisitely rare back then. Mm-hmm. I don't know what has been added to milk that makes it more likely today. And it may be, I wouldn't even doubt, Vince, if it's partly related to fluoridation. Mm-hmm. Fluoride poisoned the entire body. Mm-hmm. It's the worst general poison the government has ever used.
So are you suggesting, Dr. Shealy, that someone who believes he or she has a milk allergy and is using the standard fluoridated toothpaste or toothpaste with fluoride in it, stop using that immediately?
Oh, and water. More important is drinking stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, city water with fluoride, toothpaste with fluoride. Is there anything else that we consume that is enhanced with the toxin fluoride, Dr. Shealy?
Oh, yes. There are about a dozen drugs that have fluoride in them.
All right. Can we talk about that when we get back? Let's talk about what do we do about these milk allergies and remove fluoride immediately from the body. Okay. Dr. Shealy's with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. And that's where you can get your vitamins, minerals, and supplements. That's where I get them. We'll be right back. Everyone all set? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares with Dr. Norm Shealy, medical doctor. Dr. Shealy, we were talking about milk allergies, and we were talking about fluoride, and you mentioned the link. I believe you mentioned the link between fluoride and milk allergies. And also, I believe you mentioned something about medicines that have fluoride in them.
At least 18 medications that have fluoride in them. Advair, Discus, atorvastatin, Baycol, Celebrex, dexamethasone, diflucan, Flonase, Flovent, Haldol, Lipitor, Luvox, fluconazole, fluoroquinolone, Cipro, Levaquin, Penetrix, Tequin, Factiv, Rexar, Maxaquin, Avelox, Noroxin, fluvastatin, that's 3 of the statin drugs, paroxetine, Paxil, Prozac, and Zetia. But other than that, business link and the play goes on.
Now, you mentioned one of those early on, I believe, one of the drugs that you mentioned was an inhaler-type steroid drug. Is that right? One of the discus drugs? Okay.
Flow to haze, flow vent. Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mention that because I know a guy who uses it every day, and his memory is shrinking every day. Do you think there is, I'm exaggerating by his memory shrinking but it seems to me that he is not as mentally adept as he had been. Do you think there's a link or could be a link between that drug and the beginnings of Alzheimer's?
Of course. It is a poison. There is no physiological, biochemical need for one minimum of fluoride. It is poison.
Okay. How about foods with fluoride in them? Do you have a feel for that?
I don't have a feel for that, but I will look it up. I've never heard of it. It must happen when it's grown in soil that contains aluminum, because aluminum and fluoride go together.
Well, there's another component to that, and that is, we think that, let's say you get a can of soup from the supermarket. Well, most of the soups that are made with city water or municipally treated water.
Well, that's true.
Mm-hmm. So sodas, same thing. And so if you buy tea in a jug, tea in a bottle, soda in a bottle, whether it comes from a Stop and Rob or a supermarket, it's typically made with city water or municipal water, which almost 100% of has fluoride added to it and chlorine. So, by the way, Dr. Shealy, just as a side note, we have some family that lives in Michigan, and this particular area of Michigan is in a water shortage area, and they're being told to limit the amount of water they're using. So the reason I'm mentioning this, class, is that there's this belief that water comes from the tap. It doesn't, ultimately, that's the control mechanism to release it into your house, the faucet, but it doesn't come from there. It comes from far away and a long time ago. And all the water that's on the planet is fixed. We're not getting any more. There's no more water coming to planet Earth. So we have been recycling water over and over and over. So we take dirty water, we somehow filter out the heavy particles, the chunks, and then we filter it finer and finer and finer, and then the municipalities treat it with chlorine and fluoride. And then you get to use it, and then down the toilet it goes, down the drain it goes, it evaporates into the sky, comes back down as rain, and the cycle repeats. So all the water that you use is used water. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's the truth. So, in your municipality, unless you live in maybe Bolivar, Missouri, I think that's the only place that I know of where they have decided not to put fluoride in the water. Is that right, Dr. Shealy, Bolivar?
Yeah. They took it out of the water because of cost.
Yeah. That's what they said. They said they did it for cost. But I believe the mayor is a medical doctor, or was
right.
at the time.
Yeah, I have a feeling it was for more reasonable reasons.
Other than cost. But it's almost impossible to get fluoride out of the water. I know this for a fact. I've tried in Springfield for years, and I've been, the only thing I've been successful in doing is getting thrown out of Springfield. And, but I tried. Every day I was on the air, I would give out the city manager's number. I'd give out his phone number and tell, our audience to, give him a call and tell him he's fired. I don't know if you heard this story, Dr. Shealy, but the radio station, that I was broadcasting from, came to me and said, in so many words, can you knock it off? Because, city keeps calling us and you're, you're overwhelming the switchboard with calls, telling Greg Burris, that he's fired for putting fluoride in the water. Have you heard that story?
I don't know that one, no.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so have you found any foods that contain fluoride, like shellfish?
Well, I the first thing I fed was obviously fluoride promoting site, and it did list a number of foods, but I'm going to keep looking because I don't trust it. Because it kept saying fluoride is safe, fluoride is safe, fluoride is safe.
Yeah, no.
And
so
can't
trust that.
I don't trust anything they say about food.
Okay, I'm at a website called myfooddata.com, myfooddata.com. And it says, since consuming too much fluoride can have ill health effects, there are limits that you should observe in consuming fluoride. It says fluoride tends to get concentrated in tea, as in black tea. It tends to get concentrated in coffee and shellfish and grapes, which of course raisins, wine, and grape juice, and artificial sweetener sodas, potatoes, flavored popsicles, baby foods, broths, stews, hot cereals, etc., made with tap water. So the problem is the tap water.
Exactly.
So you want to make oatmeal? No problem. Oatmeal's powdered or dried, and you have to add water to it to hydrate it, to cook it. So now you're adding the fluoride to your oatmeal and hot cereals. And when you boil potatoes, they're boiled in city water, typically. Not for those of us with wells, but for those of us without wells, it's city water. And even if you buy a jug of water, you need to read the label because it may say purified water. But they start with municipal water many times. So if you buy those 3-gallon blue colored plastic jugs or the 5-gallon blue carboy jugs and you have them refilled, it's typically with city water. So if you go to Walmart and you have it refilled, it's filtered city water. It's typically not well water. So keep that in mind. So you're adding by adding the water to your food, you're adding the fluoride. Now the chlorine, if you boil your potatoes, you're volatilizing the chlorine, so you're probably not consuming too much chlorine. You're breathing it, but you're not ingesting it down the hatch per se. Any other thoughts on fluoride, Dr. Shealy?
Well, avoid it like the plague that it is.
Okay, so what does it do? What does fluoride do to the body?
Well, it poisons every cell in your body, and perhaps the organ that it most damages is the testicle. Men have decreased their sperm count from 150 million 50 plus years ago to today 40 million. When it gets to 20 million, by the way, men are infertile, and I have been seeing infertile men since the early 90s. But if we continue using fluoridated water, within 20 years there'll be no more babies. We're that close to stopping all reproduction of by males. 20
years.
I'm sorry?
You said 20 years? Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, because at the rate we're going, within 20 years we'll be down to 20 million or less.
Okay, when we get down, 20 years from now, do you think that's the plan, Dr. Shealy? Do you think that is really the overriding reason why fluoride has been put in the water to limit population? I mean, it seems like a lot of things are being used to limit population.
Well, it's possible, but I think I don't think they were smart enough to know that back in the 1940s and 50s. And I think it was put there for a different reason, just to get rid of a contaminant. In other words, the aluminum industry was producing tons of fluoride as a byproduct.
And they didn't know what to do with it, so they paid farmers to dump it on the farms.
Well, they had a competition, a national competition, to find a use for it. And the stupid dental profession came up and took it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they said, so we'll make sure everybody gets it. So we'll put it in toothpaste. So we'll get rid of this toxin. We'll get rid of this waste, this byproduct, and we'll put it in every tube of toothpaste, except for the ones that don't, except for the small names. The big names all have it. Crest, Gleam, McLean's, all the rest of them.
Guess what I just found? Fluoride is phytotoxic to most plants.
Hmm.
So if you're watering your garden with city water, you're already poisoning your garden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, you don't do that, and we don't do that. We have well water,
right,
which we think is okay. I mean, we don't know minute to minute if it's okay or not, but it was okay. It's okay yesterday. Yeah. So, class, the bottom line throughout this broadcast has been, for all the years I've been with Dr. Norm Shealy, get out of Dodge, get a farm, get away from as many of the poisons and toxins and pollutants and people and electromagnetic radiation as you can, and do as much as you can for yourself, meaning grow your own food, fix your own. Yes.
One of the things, I don't send you the 30 or more political things I send to some friends every day, but there was one over the weekend. One of Biden's stupid plans is to stop the suburbs, move people back into the cities.
You know, Biden attended, Jumpin' Joe the plagiarist Biden attended a university, and it was a top 40 university at the time. And he plagiarized. And I keep saying Jumpin' Joe the plagiarist for a reason. And it's just starting to make the news that, you know what, Jumpin' Joe Biden is a plagiarist. Is that what you want for president? A plagiarist? A guy who steals other people's work? That's what plagiarism is. We had a really tough series of choices to make coming November. We've got Jumpin' Joe the plagiarist. We've got Donald Trump, who changed his mind daily, maybe hourly, and we have another guy, Kanye West, who claims he's running for president. He's married to a gal that has been called a porn star, Kim Kardashian, who is by marriage related to a transvestite. I mean, if I
think it's a comedy, a tragic comedy.
Absolutely, it's. I mean, if Kanye West wins, we will be the laughing stock of at least this galaxy. I mean, really, to have a rapper who has these beauty pageants that are just disgusting to look at, and his wife wears these sprayed on spandex, latex, I don't know what you call them, wrappings, and she's had surgery to enhance her butt, so it's, I mean, this is a intentionally, purposely disfigured woman who has got sex tapes out there, and wouldn't we be proud to say, hey, our first lady's a porn star. How about yours? I mean, really? How does this happen? I mean, we have three poor choices. We haven't had a candidate, geez, that I can think of that's been truly presidential for a long time. Someone that we can look up to, someone that leads by example. I mean, there is no place for profanity in the White House. There's no place for it. This is supposed to be this, you know, the person we really look up to, the inspiration. Not someone who's bribed and paid off and wheels and deals and does under the table transactions. This is supposed to be transparent. Someone who's not enriching himself and his family and his friends at the expense of the bottom 93%, us. I've never seen anything like this, Dr. Shealy. It's hard to be proud and be an American. It really is. Or proud to be an American with all this nonsense going on, all these little countries we go around beating up because they've got something that we want, like natural resources or oil or something like that. It's coming out, Dr. Shealy, that the COVID-19 really did come from China. It really was a bioweapon, and it really got out. And we're not sure if it got out by mistake or intentionally. But now it looks like our president's going to have to do something about it, because it looks like the communist Chinese, have taken down most of the first world countries in the world. Most of them economically taking us down. The jobs aren't coming back. I mean, regardless of what the news says. People are unemployed. At least 1/4 of the mortgage payers have not paid their mortgage for months. Well, because they can't. Because they got laid off. Their jobs have been shut down. Their factories have been closed, etc. General Motors just announced over the weekend that the factory right here that makes trucks in Missouri is shutting down the third shift. They're shutting that down because of the coronavirus fears. Headlines on Zero Hedge: GM cutting third shift at Missouri plant after workers fail to show up due to COVID fears. GM is on the verge of cutting its third shift. On the verge, from what I understand, it cut it at its mid-sized truck assembly plant in Wentzville, Missouri, after coronavirus fears have caused employees to stay home. That's what they're saying. So, it's a pretty big plant. They make trucks there. Dr. Shealy, are your patients concerned about the coronavirus?
Almost none.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are they going out and shopping and with masks, without masks, with gloves, with hand sanitizer? What are they doing?
I would say 95% come in without a mask.
Okay. They bring hand sanitizer and latex gloves or not?
I don't know. I have it on my desk.
Okay. All right.
But I don't know where they're carrying it.
All right, we'll be right back. Class Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. The contact information is on the website. If you'd like to schedule an appointment, meet with them, talk to Dr. Shealy on the phone, schedule a telemed type visit across the internet, you can do that. Dr. Shealy, what phone number would you like our class to call?
417-351-5221.
Class, that's 417-351-5221. That's Central Time right here in Missouri. Repeat, 417-351-5221. Dr. Shealy, when I was a little younger, we were raising our children. Our children were very young at the time. And I remember quite distinctly, our children would say, "Hey, Dad, can you do this?" And I'd say, "I can. As soon as I finish this, as soon as I finish what I'm working on, I'll do that." And they'd say, "Well, why can't you do it now?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm already doing something, and I can only do one thing at a time." And they'd say, "Well, Mom can do 7." And I'd say, "Well, I can't. I can only do one thing at a time." And that's what I try to do. I try to do only one thing at a time. And there's an article on the internet, and it talks about information overload, multitasking. Technology is causing more Americans to become forgetful. Now, if you think about this, class, let me just paint one scenario. So in the good old days when you went to the barber and, or the beauty salon and you're having your hair cut, how would you like it if, the scissors come out, the hair starts falling on the floor, and then the phone rings, and the guy or gal cutting your hair takes the phone call and says, "Yeah, yeah, I'll get those on the way. Yeah, I'll get them on. Yeah, call me when I'm at the store, and I'll pick them up. Okay, thanks. Love you too. Bye." And then he starts cutting your hair again, and then the phone rings again. Or the next customer comes in, he says, "Hey, Joe, how's it going? Haven't seen you." And he walks off, leaves you in the chair, and, he's multitasking. He's talking on the phone. He's time division multiplexing. He's not really multitasking. He's only doing one thing at a time, but he's doing one and then stopping, then starting the next task, talking on the phone, then stopping that, coming back to here, stopping that, going to talk to the guy who just came in as the new customer because he hasn't seen him in a couple of weeks, and they're best buddies, and they got to catch up on, how things are going and so forth. This multitasking thing seems to be a real problem now, Dr. Shealy. People are really becoming forgetful. And the article's saying that a poll of 2,000 Americans over the age of 35 finds 61%, over 6 out of 10, having trouble remembering things when they multitask. I can understand that. I can understand why they have trouble, because I only do one thing at a time. One thing at a time. What are your thoughts, Dr. Shealy?
The same.
Mm-hmm.
As usual.
So imagine the days when you were doing brain surgery, and imagine if you had a cell phone in your pocket, if they were around back then, and and it rang, and you said, hold it, listen guys, give me a second, I got to take this call.
I wouldn't be surprised if it actually happens today.
Well, yeah. And it's unacceptable, Dr. Shealy. In my world, it's unacceptable. In the days when people used to come on over to our house, I would, there's a sign that said no cell phones. Because I didn't want people coming into our house being, if they're going to spend time with us, spend time with us. Don't be distracted. Otherwise, stay home. And then the other thing is, people will be in their cars or their trucks, and they'll be waiting, let's say they bring someone to the store and they're sitting in the truck waiting while whoever it is that they brought to the store is shopping. Then they think they've got to call us because they're bored. I don't want to multitask. I don't want people to bother me because they're bored. It's not my job to relieve their boredom.
Well, I do carry my old zip. I had to buy a new zip phone. My old one died, and I do carry it, but it's always turned off. I charge it once a week, but I want it for emergencies. If I'm out on the highway and something happens, I would like to be able to call, but I don't use it. I mean, I don't need but maybe a minute or two a year when I'm traveling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can understand that. I really can understand it because all the payphones have been removed. Or at least, I don't think there are any more payphones. Are there? I haven't seen a payphone in a long time. You used to have a dime, keep a dime in your pocket in case you need to make a phone call. We don't do that anymore, right? But no, I don't have a cell phone. And some people still ask me how come I don't answer the phone. And I say I do. I answer the phone, but I'm not always next to the phone because the phone is attached to a cord attached to the wall. I don't carry it with me. So, Dr. Shealy, what about all this multitasking we're doing? Do you think it is beneficial, or do you think there's some inherent weaknesses in our ability to go forward?
Disastrous. I think it's a disaster every day.
Okay. Are you seeing that in your patients? Are you seeing that they're trying to multitask when they're with you and maybe not paying full attention as they should to what you're saying? And
not really. I mean, I would say once a day at least their phone rings and they apologize. They don't try to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
But I see people doing it all the time other than here in the office.
Yeah, I used to give some...
I don't think we're meant to be on the phone all the time.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I used to give seminars in person, and I would tell people, turn your cell phones off. I don't want to hear them ring. I do not want to hear those cell phones going off during the seminars because it's distracting to me and it's distracting to everybody else. And, if they needed to have their cell phones, if they need to pay attention to it, well, do that instead. Get out of the seminar, go pay attention to your cell phone, and if that's the most important thing. Otherwise, I mean, we used to go, I don't know, all the way to the store and back without cell phones back in, the early days.
Well, I still go all the way to the store and back without a cell phone, although I carry it with me just in case I have a flat tire or something else.
Well, a flat tire is a big deal today, Dr. Shealy, and I'll tell you why. At least 27% of new vehicles do not come with a spare tire. So if a person has a flat tire, they're flat out of luck. I mean, even if they have the skill, the knowledge, and and the inclination to change that flat tire with the spare, they may not have a spare tire in their vehicle. So now, a spare tire or a flat tire, having a flat tire, might require a cell phone. And I think that's why, new vehicle manufacturers are saying, oh no, you don't need a spare tire. That's what AAA is for, or that's what road service is for. Or why would you do that? I mean, why would you, want to change your own tire? You got a cell phone, right? And I think that's the logic that's being used for why you don't need to have a spare tire anymore. And the manufacturers say, well, shoot, we don't have to have, that page in the instruction manual. Actually, there's 5 pages to tell you how to do it. So we're going to save on paper, in the instruction manual that comes with the car. We're going to save on the tire jack. We don't have to put one of those in. We don't have to put the tire in. We don't have to put the valve for the tire in. We don't have to have the wheel for the tire. We don't have to have the securing mechanism, and we don't have to have the recessed well to hold the spare tire in the first place. So we save $75 per vehicle by not having a spare tire. That's, I think, that's some of the logic that's being used. But I'd rather have a spare tire. Absolutely. A full-size spare tire. My truck has a full-size spare tire. My old antique Mercedes-Benz 1996, best car I've ever owned, has a full-size spare tire. And by the way, I wanted to do a special report on police cars. Do you know that police cars are designed so they can take a 75-mile-an-hour rear impact and still have the occupants not get crushed to death? And the reason for that is, one of the reasons why they can take that is because they have the spare tire in the rear of the vehicle, lying flat as a shock absorber and as more metal. So police cars have them. But you shouldn't be able to have a spare tire. At least 27% of the new vehicles, no spare tire. Back to the milk allergy, Dr. Shealy. When someone is allergic to milk, what should that person do? I mean,
well, obviously you need to think about your entire diet, and you can actually be tested for whether it is a specific allergy to milk or an allergy in general. And you need to improve your immune system. And the way you improve your immune system is be sure that you're taking vitamin D3 adequately, and vitamin C adequately, and vitamin B complex adequately. All of those are essential to a normal immune system, and they require huge doses today because of toxicity of the environment in general.
Okay. How much, let's say we've got, an early 20-year-old with, I'm thinking of someone specifically with a milk allergy, early 20s. Let's say, maybe 125 pounds. How much D3?
Well, D3 then, 50,000 units 3 times a month, the 1st, 10th, and 20th of every month. If you weigh under 140 pounds, 3 times a month. If you weigh over 140 pounds, once a week.
Okay. That's 150,000 units a month you're talking about, right?
No, 50,000.
No, but
50,000 once a week if you're over 140, and 50,000 3 times if you're under 140, yes.
Right. So I was thinking 3 times a month times 50,000. That's 150,000 a month spread evenly over the month. Divide the month into roughly thirds. Okay. Vitamin C. How much vitamin C?
Well, I think the best is a minimum of 1,000, but better for 2,000 milligrams a day.
Okay. And B complex?
25 milligrams minimum of B1, B2, B3, B6.
B1, B2, B6. B1, B2, B6. 25 milligrams vitamin B complex. That's once a day?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's what we should do. What should we not do?
Well, I would start then by eliminating milk. If that takes care of all the symptoms, then you know that is truly a milk allergy, and you may never be able to go back to it.
Now, when you say milk, we're talking about ice cream, we're talking about butter, we're talking about cheese, right? All those?
Well, butter might not be the same because it doesn't have the same protein in it. But yogurt, and every other form of milk, yes.
Okay, so cheese would be
it
something
has the protein.
Okay, so if we pull milk out of the diet and we do it correctly, how long should it be before we see the positive results of not having gastrointestinal distress?
A week to a month.
Okay, no milk for a month, no fluoride, so we stop fluoride right away because we talked about that. So there's no fluoride in the toothpaste, no city gin, meaning water, city water, and no milk. We'll be right back with Dr. Norm Shealy. Class, Dr. Norm Shealy is with us. We're talking about milk allergies. Dr. Shealy, if we do what you've recommended, we pull milk out of our diet, we pull fluoride out of our diet, and it seems to be working. After a month or so, would you recommend that we slowly reintroduce milk very, very slowly, as was done with immunization shots by the allergist of the 1960s to build up our immunity, or do we just stay off it? Stay off milk?
I think the chances are, if you really had a significant, I'm talking a big rash, not maybe just a little bit of GI problems, I would probably stay off it. If it was just a little bit of a rash or something like that, yes, you could try reintroducing after a month. But a true allergy rarely is going to go away.
Is a milk allergy visible by, the skin test? Is that something that, if you were to scratch your skin with a fingernail and pour a little bit of milk on there, would you see a rash from that? Yes,
I don't recommend that as a test, but you're right, of course.
Okay. I was just wondering okay. Dr. Shealy, in our kitchen, I mentioned this before, that we have 15 can lights, meaning recessed fixtures that are these metal cans. They're actually aluminum, and they are in the ceiling of our kitchen. And you can screw in an incandescent light bulb, you could screw in a compact fluorescent light bulb, you could screw in a LED light bulb, or you could put a retrofit LED fixture on there, which would be a flat fixture that would cover up the can and have light. So obviously, from a aesthetic perspective, the retrofit kit is the best way to go. So in our kitchen, as I mentioned, we have 15 can lights, 15 recessed lights. Then we have over the kitchen island where we cook a fixture that hangs from the ceiling that has two bulbs, you could screw in two incandescent, two compact fluorescent, two LED bulbs. And over the kitchen table, we have a fixture that hangs from the ceiling with 3 bulbs. So total would be 15 can lights plus 2 plus 3 is a total of exactly 20 light bulbs in the kitchen. Well, wow. Yeah, but we wanted a lot of light in there. But anyway, but we live in the kitchen, okay? And what I noticed is I would walk into the kitchen from another part of the house or outside, and I'd feel dizzy. And I'd leave and I'd be fine. I'd walk back in and I'd feel dizzy. And I'd walk out and, a few minutes later I'd be fine. And so we pulled out all the LED lights in the kitchen. Every single one we pulled out. I'm not dizzy anymore. So now the question is, every single one of those LED lights has a switch mode power supply. So what happens is it takes AC current, 60 cycle current, 120 volts on average, and it has a switch mode power supply that has a real fast make break, and so it vibrates, if you will, and creates a transmission of some frequency that I think I'm allergic to. So when we replace those with incandescent light bulbs, the regular old fashioned kind that use way too much energy, according to Hillary Clinton, I am fine. So my question to you, Dr. Shealy, do you have any thoughts on, is it the switch mode power supply? Is it the fact that the LED light flickers very quickly and we can't tell that it's flickering very quickly? Is it the ultraviolet spectrum that comes out of it that we don't notice? Do you have any thoughts on, have you ever heard of anything like this, or is it just my hypersensitivity to almost everything?
I have to say it's your hypersensitivity because I've not heard of it. That doesn't mean it is, but it sounds unique.
Okay. Well, class, it's absolutely true in my case. Absolutely true. Because believe me, I would not be burning all this extra electricity if it wasn't happening. I'd put all those LED light bulbs back in, but it doesn't work for me. So it makes me literally feel dizzy. And the sensation happens instantly. Like if I leave the studio at one end of the farmhouse and go into the kitchen after the broadcast, I would instantly feel dizzy. Instantly. I mean, within 10 seconds. So, and I've tried two things. One, replacing with incandescent, the old-fashioned light bulbs. They work fine. I don't get dizzy. We replaced them with the compact fluorescents. I don't get dizzy. Only with the LEDs. So, I just wanted to share that.
Interesting.
Oh, it's absolutely true.
I believe you.
Yeah. And it'd be interesting to, class, if any of that has happened to you, feel free to call into USA Prepares. During the week, I'd love to hear, is it just me? So what's that number? Well, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. Now, I'm not talking about, did you read about it? I'm talking about, have you experienced it the way I've described? Has it really happened to you the way it happens to me? And did you switch back to the old-fashioned lighting, the incandescents, or the compact fluorescents, and did it go away? That's what I'd like to know. Dr. Shealy, any quick comments before we sign off?
No, always good. Have a good one.
Dr. Shealy, it's delightful broadcasting with you. You're a wealth of knowledge and experience. Class, that's Dr. Norm Shealy, MD. 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221 is his office number in Springfield, Missouri. Thank you so much, Dr. Shealy.